Good morning, Christina here from Redivine Creative with a new process video for you. I am working on one of my Layout of the Day challenges, and this is a black and white picture of my son when he was a baby. He's 9 now, and it's talking about a trip where I took him to meet my family who lives in Michigan, and we live in Arizona, and how important and special it was to me that he meet my grandma. So what you'll see is I'm using a black background and it's kind of a brushed black, so it isn't just a solid piece of cardstock. And I've taken that black and white triangular paper from Crepe Paper Wonder, and I've just cut it into a triangle that's going to take up half the page. And I have one of the ephemera packs from that same Crepe Paper Wonder collection, and I'm going to create a cluster up there in the top corner for my title. So this little one is going to serve as the title. And then I'm going to take all of these random pieces of ephemera and I'm going to kind of tuck, overlap, pop dot, move them all around and create this very busy, messy kind of border that goes all along that triangular strip. So this is a really good way not just to create some interest, but to use up if you have a ton of ephemera packs or a ton of ephemera sitting around. But it adds a really cool visual effect because it's kind of like an old-fashioned scrapbook or an old-fashioned pile of memorabilia where everything just kind of fell on the page. And it's just adding little like words and quotes and phrases and some old-fashioned images and things, and they just went perfectly with this picture. Because there was an important story to be told, but it wasn't thematic and it wasn't from an event or a vacation. Um, so it was a good way to use some of this random ephemera and embellishments that I know we all have sitting around waiting for us to find a use for. So there you see I've gone ahead and saved you from having to watch me glue all those pieces together and get them all exactly where I wanted them on that border. And I will add some more embellishments. This is just the paper portion, so I am going to add some dimension. Right now you'll see I'm going through the 6x6 paper pad and I'm pulling out a bunch of pieces that I think will work for layering around my photo because I do want to make sure that that still has some attention surrounding it so that it isn't lost in all that ephemera that I used. So I'm looking through making sure I have colors that I want, and then I'm just going to start kind of layering them around my picture. I wanted to take some of the colors from that ephemera pack and use them in my embellishment or in my layers just so that everything kind of coordinated well together. So I'm pulling out just different colors and things that I think will work and layering those behind that title. I'm not being precise, I'm just cutting out, measuring. I know for some people that's horrible and for some people that's great. So sometimes I measure and sometimes I tend to just kind of freeform and go for it. And on this layout, it felt like something that I could freeform and just kind of go for it and that would be okay. So I'm doing just these different layers. I have the turquoise and the red, little pops of color, and then I'm using that yellowish diamond background as a little more subtle. And then I had a tiny strip of that black and white plus sign paper, and I'm going to go ahead and tuck that in the layers as well. And I do come back and add a little bit more to these layers afterwards as well. And like I said, this is a fairly old photo. This is one that I took of my son, and he is 9 now, and this was on his very first trip home to see my family. And so the journaling is just going to say, taking you home to meet my grandma in Michigan is one of my favorite memories of your first year of life. Gigi absolutely adored you from the very start. And so that's a memory that I definitely want to have included in his album, but also for me just to remember how important it was to me and also to my family that very first trip that we brought him home. Alright, so back to that layout, I'm just tucking that photo down there in that corner, making sure I'm happy with where I have everything, and then I'm going to go ahead and tuck in some more of those little ephemera pieces, not so much for the phrases or for the embellishment side, but just to add a little extra layer. And I try out a couple of different ones to see what look I wanted, and I end up going back, looking through some different labels that I had from a project that I was working on before this one, and I end up going back to that little hello one, and just covering up the words so all you see is that coral type color peeking out instead. And I'm going to be happy with that at this point. So I go ahead and I'm going to stick that down in the corner, and I tend to not put a ton of adhesive at this point in the process because I want to be able to tuck things and move things around behind my photo a little bit. So I do go back later and reinforce the glue on some of those elements just because I want some freedom while I'm creating to be able to add some things and move some things around. And there you'll see I'm working on that little title cluster. So I pulled a couple more tags and that little one phrase and then also one that says dream. And that's just going to be my title cluster, and I will add a couple little embellishments to that later. And then you see me going for the chipboard sheet, and they have some stars. So one's going to go up there in the title cluster, and then this little pink one, is going to go down towards the middle of the layout and become part of that embellishment cluster that runs on the diagonal. And I'm just kind of trying to decide what other little pieces and bits. I love that arrow with the heart on it, so I'm going to try that in a few different spots, and I'm going to end up putting it back up there by that little U. And I actually go back later, which you don't see in the video, and I take some of the chipboard layers off the back because it's standing up a lot more than anything else on the page, and it looked a little bit out of place. So I did go back and remove some of the chipboard layers from behind it. And now you'll see I'm pulling for the puffy stickers, and I pull out that little hello speech bubble and tuck it behind little U, so it says hello little you instead in that little kind of supplemental title. And then I'm going to add this ampersand down at the bottom. So instead of just saying stay curious, now it says stay curious and dream. So those little puffy stickers are a great way to try and connect some of my embellishments and my ephemera together. So it doesn't look quite so random. It looks like I placed it there kind of with a purpose. And you can't really tell so much in the video, but behind that love circle at the top, as well as the stay curious tag, and here you're going to see the final layout. I did add that journaling box, and I hope you enjoyed this process. And if you did, go ahead and like and subscribe below. Bye!